Say hi to James. Made me an entrepreneur. Teaching me day after day after day till it all was a blur. Now he on tour, he can drop in your city tonight. Nevertheless, coming in for the fight. Making that powerful statement, saying that you meant for greatness. Better be ready for absolute.
Man, good morning, Absolute Nation. Let me tell you this. You've never had an opportunity to have someone so as impactful as the speakers you'll meet today. When I say speakers, there is a difference between a motivational speaker and a person who speaks in the lives of your favorite speaker. No one fits that category like Dan Clark. You see, Dan Clark is a name that resonates. Like hearing Clark Kent's name, he flips into Superman mode and does so many things around the world for generations. There's lasting names of greatness. You've heard of Les Brown with the same Hall of Fame status that Les Brown has, so does Dan Clark. Dan Clark is like the Tony Stark in your superstar lineup of heroes. There's nothing he hasn't done or can't do. His brain is big, his thoughts are magnificent, but he does so and creates these concepts and ideas that when he speaks, it reverberates into the back of your life to bring back everything you thought you had left behind. You see, he speaks to corporations, speaks to militaries, but today he speaks directly to you. Without further ado, the one, the only, the Hall of Famer himself, Dan Clark. Dan, welcome to Absolute Motivation.
All right, James, absolutely an honor.
Man, what I love, man, is that there are so many people who you've spoken to, yet you haven't lost your passion. You haven't lost your purpose. You haven't stopped. It is if you were not only born and given a gift by God, but you worked on the gift until it became a skill, then it became a part of who you are, and it's just your DNA to encourage people. Where did that passion to encourage the nation or the world, rather, where did that begin with you?
Probably in the life that I've lived where I was bullied, a lot of people said you're not going to amount to a hill of beans. I was compared and forced to compete against my genius siblings. And I got all of my attention as an athlete. And as an athlete, if you're not failing a few times, it means you're not pushing yourself hard enough. So I was continuously getting knocked down and had to figure out how to get back up and go again. But my continuous passion for these 4 decades is at the top of my game as a professional speaker. It's really driven, James, by the fact that I was given a second chance. I had people come into my life at the time that I needed somebody to kick me in the butt or put their arm around me and stay to help me cry. And I think to myself, what would have happened had that person not kept his or her passion? What would have happened in my life had that person quit or basically said, I've done enough. It's time for me to retire. And I'm so grateful to God and to these heroes in my life, these 6 people, maybe 6 degrees of separation, who saw in me something that I didn't see in myself, who came to my rescue at that moment in time. And they didn't have to, but they did. And I can't forget about that, James. Every single time I speak, I've given over 6,000 speeches in 76 countries.
Wow.
And I've never missed a speech, my friend. I've never missed a speech. And I don't want your listeners and viewers to think, oh, yeah, he's so noble. No. The reason why I've never missed a speech, I was paralyzed for 14 months, went to 16 doctors, 15 of whom told me I would never get any better. But I believe, and I know for a fact in my heart of hearts, James, that there's at least one man and one woman in every one of my speeches who is hurting as badly as I was. And when I was paralyzed as an athlete, I lost my identity. I thought I was a football player when in reality, that's just what I did, not who I am as a man. And when we identify ourselves in terms of what we do instead of who we are, we become human doings instead of human beings. Unacceptable of significance is what we seek. And if I show up, flights canceled, and I race through the airport, change concourses, change air carriers, rent a car. I drove 7 hours one time through the Badlands of Nebraska to make a speech in Rapid City, South Dakota. And I was the only speaker who showed up in a 3-day conference because of inclement weather. I know that this is a calling. I know that you and I were brought together for a larger purpose than what you're doing and what I'm doing, and together we rise. But it's a little longer answer to your simple question, but I think it was worth sharing, because whenever we are given an opportunity to step up and serve someone else, we better do it, because we never know when our words or our actions or our smile or our speech from a stage can keep someone from taking their life, can save a marriage, can kickstart an entrepreneurial idea that might change the world. So this is a calling. And I ask people that I coach who want to become speakers, what would you drive 5 hours one way to say to somebody for free? And if you can't answer that and can't willingly say, I would do it, then it's not a calling. It's a job. It's an adrenaline rush. It's a thrill of victory. But when you know it's a calling, you have time to understand what we learned from COVID, that the eye really is the window to the soul. And if you pay attention, you can see if someone's sad. You can see if someone's lonely. You can see if someone's angry. You know, you and I are two brothers from a different mother. We have connected at such a deep level. And just the fact that we get on stages together, we don't even have to talk about racism or even use the word. It's just evident that I love you, you love me, and together we rise. Same God who made you made me too. So we've got to just look out for chances for us to take our lives from successful competing against others to significance where we compete against what we're capable of.
Oh, man, that's a bomb right there. You know, listen, guys, write that down. Someone, I know you're listening, but if you're watching this back, write that one down. He said, you're not competing against others, you competed against yourself, but say it the way you said it, because that was even deeper.
I said, we're not supposed to compete against others, which really is about successful, nice car, nice house, nice comparison, focusing in on what we think matters at the moment. What we have to do is compete against what we're capable of, which means we're competing against ourselves, focusing in on what matters most, which is what lasts the longest, so we don't die with our music still in us. And again, it's not enough to just compete against what we're capable of. It's what we're willing to do with those capabilities. Talent is not enough. You and I both know superstar athletes who never play, who never get in the game because they take their talent for granted and they never put it into play.
You know, there's something I was thinking about, speaking of superstars. I was recently with Martha Stewart last weekend, and we're sitting beside each other talking, and she goes, yeah, so how long you been speaking? So we get into a general conversation. She goes, you know Dan Clark?
You're
So
such
she
a dog. Oh, no, man, you're such a dog, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put it into perspective, ladies and gentlemen. The other day, I nailed it. I gave one of those speeches where people were doing the wave and naming their future children after me. It went really well. And I'm backstage, and there's folks want pictures of me signing the books, and these two people came up to me, and they go, you know, James Dixon? And I said, yeah. They said, he's the best speaker we've ever heard. And I'm like, oh, perfect.
Listen, I get on it, but you've been the best speaker for the world. That has been the most powerful acronym that anyone could be given, because it's not a self title that you get. You've spoken life under so many. What's amazing is, you know, it's the who's who. When you spend time with Dan Clark, let me give you an example of what it's like. I now know what it's like to be Tito Jackson walking beside Michael Jackson. It is where they're like, Michael, you're like, I'm a Jackson too. I'm a Jackson too. You know, we have the same parents. God loves me too, y'all. And I have to remind them, but I love the fact that you walk in humility in all that you've done with all the celebrities, whether it be Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whether it be Chuck Norris, all the people you've interacted with, all the celebrities, all the generals, all the top secret stuff you've been involved with, places you've spent, the coins you've had from all of these organizations around the globe, the royalty you've met around the world. What is it? Because I've watched you treat the very common man the same as you would someone who's royalty. How have you kept it a perspective to treat all men equal?
Because every person began as a common man or common woman. Michael Jordan, he didn't know he could sky and win 6 world championships as the greatest basketball player who ever lived when he was 5. You know, I remember being on the program with Mary Lou Retton, for those of you who are old enough to remember when she won the gold medal, got a perfect 10 as a gymnast as a 16-year-old in the Olympics. And she was America's sweetheart from West Virginia, got her own road named after her, got her convertible red Corvette. She was on the cover of Wheaties. And she and I shared the program together at the Superdome right after she won the Olympics, gold medal in the all-around. And she says, this cute little bubbly gal, she goes, Dan, so will you watch my speech and will you kind of give me some pointers and evaluation? I've been really working hard on it. Yeah. She stands up, and as you can imagine, there was probably 47,000 folks in the Superdome. It was a great event. And I was speaking after her. And when she got done, she comes running off the stage, huge standing ovation, bubbly, huge smile. And she goes, Dan, how did I do? And I said, man, you did great, but can I give you a suggestion? And she said, yeah. And I took her kind of to the side and I said, are you really ready for a suggestion? And she says, yeah, I've worked so hard on my speech. Be nice. I said, I want to know how many times you crashed and burned before you got that perfect 10. I said, your entire speech was about celebrating, you know, this victory for America and making us all proud and stand and chant USA, USA. And you showed the video clip of you doing this amazing performance as this perfected world champion gymnast. But I want to know how many times you crashed and burned on every single element of your entire uneven parallel bars routine. And she said, whoa. So I challenged her to go into the archives and dig up some videos. And she found a videotape when she was, you know, as an adult, she's only like 4'10".
Right.
Imagine when she's 8, she's like, you know, 3 feet tall, maybe 2 feet tall. And this video is showing her going from the bottom bar to the top bar and back to the bottom bar. Just one element of her entire uneven parallel bars routine, which was one of the 4 events necessary to win the all-around competition in gymnastics. And she crashed and burned. She was trying to go from the bottom bar up to the top bar, missed, bam. Bottom bar up to the top bar, missed, bam. And about the 7th crash, she's in tears. And 2 of my 3 daughters were in gymnastics. And part of the culture of gymnastics is there's no crying. And if you fall off the apparatus, get back up and finish your routine. It's almost as ridiculous as I don't care. I don't give a rat's wackazoodle that you just broke your left arm and that your left leg has already been broken. Get back up on those bars and finish. Stop whining. And so she just continued on. And about the 8th or 9th crash, she doesn't want to do it anymore. And her coach says, come on, Mary Lou, you got this, you got this. And on the 13th crash, you could see she didn't want to do it anymore. And you could actually hear her. I quit. This is not enough. Ladies and gentlemen, when is it enough and when is it not enough? On the 14th attempt, she was successful going from the bottom bar to the top bar and back to the bottom bar without crashing and burning. What would have happened? We would have never heard of Mary Lou Retton had she quit on the 13th try. Wow. It almost ties into your first question, my friend. When are we going to quit? When are we going to stop making a difference? When are we going to stop serving our fellow men and fellow women? The only way we're going to heal America is if we come together and focus in on what's right. And, you know, the lyrics to one of my hit songs, leave each other always saying, I like me best when I'm with you. I want to see you again. I like me best when I'm with you. I want to see you again. So as professional speakers, I taught public speaking at the university level for 11 years. And I love coaching speakers. And I always remind my students and fellow speakers that it's never about us, it's about them. Seek to bless, not impress. If you're nervous before you speak, it means you think it's about you. But if you're excited to speak and share your message, you know it's about them. But to my point, James, If we dazzle the audience and they leave dazzled with us, we've blown it.
Yeah.
If they leave impressed with us, wowed with us, we've blown it. But if they leave impressed and wowed with themselves, that somehow our words and our passion, creativity, and imagination and insights and experiences, because we've traveled the road, if somehow our message instilled in them a desire to be better than they've ever been before, you know, with the mantra that we raised our children, the only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. If they can leave our meetings and our speeches with that belief, then we've accomplished the goal. And that's why event planners bring you and I in.
There was something that you said that just now came to mind. And it's that there are so many speakers that want to improve. People want to do it because they see you on stage and they see the impact, the flawlessness in which you're able to go humor, and you can spend time in the emotion, yet take us through a whole different motion into something positive. And then we leave there and you're like, man, I'm ready to go do it. I figured this out. And even though we love your story and your impact, you left an imprint. And there are people who want to do what you do. Do you coach people continually now? I know you do it at the university level. Is there any way you're willing to take on additional people? And if so, how would they be able to get in touch with you for that?
I love it. Thanks. Yeah, my program is called Speak Like a Pro. And what I did is I distilled, when I became a college professor, it forced me to distill everything I learned from my 40-year Hall of Fame career. And so I put it into a 193-page workbook study guide, and I created a 6-week online course called Speak Like a Pro. And what we do is we gather together once a week on a 90-minute Zoom call, and I guide you through this 193-page workbook study guide, which is digital, so you can pull it up and follow us while we're talking real time on our computers. And it's also editable, so you can type in the answers, and I give you reading assignments and I give you homework assignments during the week. So 6 weeks, everybody gets copies of 4 of my 37 books that I've written, and they all are resources. My system is that we really need to make every one of our stories funny, add humor, evocative by adding a quote or a scripture, emotional so people remember it. And I talk about the 4 ways to start every speech. You know, ask a question, you cannot not answer a question. Start with quoting a startling factoid that gets everybody to go, what did he just say? Start with a joke, which is one of my favorites. When my Aunt Lucy was 63 years old, she started walking 5 miles every day. Now she's 91 and we don't know where she is. But then we teach them how to follow that up with some profound wisdom. The limiting belief, we laugh about my Aunt Lucy, but the limiting belief that holds us back is focusing in on a future outcome instead of staying present in the process by answering the question that we can answer. Where are you right now? It's like ordering an Uber ride that requires that you enter in your current location. And if you lie about where you are, the directions won't work. You see how I teach the dovetail of quotes, of analogies, of humor. And then the way to start every speech is just to start right off with the story. And you're the profound storyteller. I take pride as the primary contributing author to all the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. So we go through all of these formulas. You know, there's an inverted triangle. I call it the speaker's triangle, James. And I know you've never taken the time to quantify that. Hopefully you'll just give me this opportunity to quantify it. But you do it naturally as one of the greatest speakers I've ever heard in my entire career. My inverted speaker's triangle reminds us that every single person, every person listening to our communication, one-on-one, one-on thousands in a podcast, in a YouTube live, one on 20,000 in an arena like you and I have had the privilege of addressing. Everybody craves the answers to 3 questions. Number 1, why should I listen to you? It's the credibility piece. Have you done it or are you currently doing it? I want to listen to somebody who can turn decades into days. I don't want somebody who just has a gajillion followers with no life experiences. Be careful in your sources of truth. Question number 2 is the most important. Can I do it too, with my past, with my weaknesses, with my limitations, and with my strengths? Can I do what you're teaching me? Can I actually do this? And it's an inverted triangle because visually it's a funnel. If you answer credibility, why should I listen to you? Possibility, can I do it too? Now you're down to the usability. How do I do it? What's your system? How do I get from where I am to where I want to be? And will it be worth it to me? And when we can answer those three questions in every story and every speech and make it funny, evocative, and emotional, we connect at the deepest levels. And that's how we learn to speak like a pro. So if you're serious about allowing me to invite people to join me as your coach, maybe I could just give a gift away. Is that okay right now?
Oh, not only you can do that, here's what we'll do. If you give like your website into that stuff, Master Chief will put it on the screen. Guys, not only do I say you need to get you a coach. If you were trying to be a better basketball player and Michael Jordan said, listen, you live near me, come over, join me, meet me on the court, and I'll work with you Monday through Friday. And by the time you get to college, imagine if you had that time to work with one of the greats. Well, I'm giving you that opportunity. He's more than just a GOAT. He is the Michael Jordan of our field because he's the only one I know that can truly blend what he does and help you do what you're called to do. The rest of them, you're like, hey, they got a popular name. But they have writers. They got people to write their speech. In fact, your favorite speaker's speech was probably written by Dan Clark. I promise you that. That's the humility behind the man who can build someone else who can then take a stand. So I'm going to not only give you the opportunity, but I'm also encouraging you. Get a coach. Get in the game. Coach, tell them what they can do.
So if you can pull out your phone right now while you're watching this YouTube live, and I want you to go to your favorite server. It could be Safari, it could be Google, it could be Chrome. And I want you to type in danclark360.com. Dan Clark, DANCLARK, numbers 360.com. danclark360.com. And all of a sudden the screen's going to pull up, and in the top left-hand corner, it says connect. I want you to click on that. And a new screen will come up. And it'll give you opportunities to connect with me, before I choke to death and die on this live. It'll give you a chance to connect with me on all different areas of social media. Choose them, but I don't want you to do that right now. I want you to go to the button that says send text. And I want you to click on that button, send text. And all I want is your full name and your best email address. And I'm going to send you a free gift. I have a 3-video series based on my best-selling book. It's my flagship book called The Art of Significance, Achieving the Level Beyond Success. We talk about the 12 highest universal laws of life-changing leadership. And that'll give us a chance to stay connected, but it will also give you an opportunity for you to find me and allow me to be that personal coach. Join my group coaching. We have people from all over the world that I've helped. I've written so many speeches for superstar celebrities. I won't drop their names here, but why not? 5 speeches for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I wrote his TED Talk, which was the best and most well-known and received TED Talk for 30 days. I love what I do, but part of our purpose, my friends, is to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
That's what that's what you're doing everywhere you go. You're the Pied Piper, sprinkling these ideas in someone's heart that they have a story worth sharing. And I want to be that person that helps you identify your stories, go to your life, go to transitional experiences, go to significant emotional events, go to your bucket list, turn it into a living list. I can help you find your content, create those amazing stories, and do everything except get you that gifted voice of God that every speaker dreams of having, because I would give anything to sound like James Dixon.
You are phenomenal. Listen, guys, that's DanClark360.com. The reason why you're talking about 360, that's all the way around. He covers every part of the base. Most of us, some of you guys have great with humor. Some of have a great look, and when speakers come to me, they usually are like, listen, I want to be able to speak. I know I have a message the world needs to hear. You ask them, where have they spoken before? Nowhere, but I'm ready to go on to 20,000 people. I know I'm ready for that. I'd like to be on the cover of Forbes. I'd like to be on the cover of Time. I'd like to be Time Person of the Year. They have these aspirations without wanting to put in the work. What I love is that you will take them through the process so they don't get put out there as fodder. I don't mind if a guy gets out there and bombs because it'll just make me look even better when I go out there, right? But
Absolutely.
to me, though, that the audience has to watch an explosion like that because it does damage to the lives and the ears and the hearts of those in the audience. There's a reason why when people say you're a motivational speaker, it becomes a kind of a almost like a car salesman title. We are not confidence men, con men. What we are inspirational people. To inspire means to breathe life into. It's a wind. It's to give you a second wind when you feel like your dreams have died on the altar of life. What Dan does is he speaks life, he coaches and walks people through. Superstars come to him because he is accessible, he's available for them, and he's available to you. To have that type of access is a gift to you. That's why one of the greatest gifts I'm going to be able to give the absolute audience is this. You'll be able to watch and listen to Dan Clark in the videos. You'll hear one of his keynotes. You'll be able to watch that as an absolute original. The world will hear more and more of Dan Clark because this generation needs everything that is in him. He's a collection of wisdom, experience, talent, and history that when he speaks into your life, he's the father you've always wanted. He's the brother you've needed. He's the coach you couldn't get, but he made himself available. Don't miss the opportunity. Dan Clark 360. To have him all the way around in your life is to be able to bring everything you've ever wanted to do into fruition. It's not about manifesting. It's about being around a man who will be able to celebrate you in life as you go through that. And that man will celebrate it through festivals in your own honor as he's helping you develop. He'll be honest with you. If something doesn't work, he'll hold you accountable. But when you do something phenomenal, he'll also be the first one cheering you on to keep going. DanClark360.com. Not only I endorse him, I'm telling you, you endorse yourself the moment you get involved with a coach that will take you to the next level. Then you bring so much to the table and you speak into so many other lives. But I wanted to say this about your life. You could easily walk into the sunset and call it retirement. But I see you double down. You pour more of yourself into it. You're more passionate today than you were a decade ago. You're more concerned today about the future and the world and impacting lives than ever before. What's kept your fire going when others have already flamed out?
The desire to make a difference, the desire to turn my life from success to significance. And when I finished my book tour with that book, The Art of Significance, Achieving the Level Beyond Success, I realized that the most frequently asked question of the talk show host was, what's the difference between success and significance? You and I both know a lot of successful people. I know so many billionaires. I've been to the White House many times. I've been wined and dined by all the biggest names on the planet. When you go to my website, danclark.com, you can see who I've interviewed. And there's so many wealthy people who have 5 chateaus, 3 Bentleys, and no friends or family. They've gained the whole world and lost their soul. And so I guess my definitive answer is the difference between success and significance ties us back into what we started to talk about in this YouTube Live. And it started for me when I had a conversation with one of my football teammates who was drafted into the NFL in the 2nd round by the Philadelphia Eagles. After 2 years with the Eagles, he's traded to my Oakland Raiders. After 4 years in the league, playing at the highest Pro Bowl level, one day he walks out of practice, quits, never to play again. Why? He loved being a football player, but he hated playing football. He loved the celebrity perks and the fame and fortune that allowed him to live this life we call successful, competing against others like we talked about a moment ago. But because his inner purpose, his true purpose in life, was misaligned with what he was doing and what he had to do to become successful, he would never live a life of significance, and he would die with his intentions, with regrets, and with his music still in him. So bottom line, successful people get what they think they want, those of us living lives of significance want what we get so we don't die with our music still in us. So what keeps me going is the idea that my head's on a linebacker swivel every day, trying to figure out ways and opportunities to turn success into significance. How may I serve someone? How may I go to an ATM every morning and get $10, 10 $1 bills? I'm never going to go broke. I do it 30 days in a row every month. And I never pass by anyone who happens to be down and out on their luck. I don't call them homeless people. I call them people, sons and daughters of God who happen to be on hard times, who happen to be homeless. And when you accentuate the person instead of the performance, the person instead of the predicament, he's not a blind guy. He's a gentleman who happens to have lost his eyesight. And when I commit to that, giving that person at least $1 or buying someone a Happy Meal when they're standing in the parking lot of a McDonald's, with all due respect to them, it doesn't have anything to do with them. It's recalibrating my service before self mindset so that I'm a better human being and I stop judging people. I get a job. Oh, you're just mentally ill, or you're just going to use it on alcohol and drugs. I've forced myself to get out of that mindset. And as Carl Jung said, the Swiss philosopher, he said, thinking will allow us to stop judging. And when I can recalibrate my mind and my heart and connect my head with my heart, it's amazing what happens. And there's also personal benefits in that for me to keep going. When I was paralyzed, I went to 16 doctors, 15 of whom told me I would not get any better. And as I fought my way back to a 95% recovery, the three most frequently asked questions are these. Clark, what do you mean you thought you hit rock bottom? If you remember nothing else I say today on this YouTube Live, especially during this holiday season, no matter how tough life gets, no matter how hard things go, no one ever hits rock bottom. We hit rock foundation. We hit rock belief. We hit the baseline core values and governing principles on which we were raised. Second most frequently asked question, why did I keep going to so many different doctors? I kept going from doctor to doctor until I found one who believed I would get better. Who reminded me knowledge is power, but it has no heart. We don't learn to know, we learn to do. All the information in the world is going to make a person successful. It's like the guy who has 3 PhDs, one in philosophy, one in psychology, one in sociology. He doesn't have a job, but at least he can explain why. Reason leads to conclusions, but it is emotion that leads to action. And the last question, what took me so long to recover? What's taking you so long to pivot? What's taking you so long to make your dream a reality? What's taking you so long to follow, meticulously buy into the messages and wisdom and passion of James Dixon? What's taking you so long to make a move? Well, perhaps it's the same reason that took me so long. I stayed paralyzed for 14 months because I was asking the wrong questions. Are you? I was asking the doctors how to get better when I should have been asking myself why. And once we answer why, figuring out the how to becomes clear and simple. So that you don't think my recovery was a rah-rah, come on, Dan, get up and go again. You can if you think you can. It was absolute motivation, not fake news, not fake motivation.
Yeah.
Decisive motivation. And that only occurs when you understand this. When we only focus on the what and the how, we only engage the head, we only engage the brain.
Yeah.
How many of us are transactional friends, transactional leaders, transactional parents, only talking about the who and the what and the how? But when we add to that a passionate why and a compelling want, we connect our head with our heart. And physiologically, our blood pumps more rapidly, our brains fire, and our muscles magnify, which maximizes our performance. So absolute motivation from my perspective in as a compliment to James Dixon, as I conclude my little part on this interview, the reason why I'm intrigued at my stage in my career, having heard every speaker on the planet and being on the program with everyone, being mentored and personally sponsored into the National Speakers Association by Zig Ziglar, my compliment to you in being part of the absolute nation is this, that James Dixon, when he talks, when he listens first, customizes his remarks. But when you go out to dinner, when his family comes to my home, we break bread together as more than speakers, more than colleagues, but as mutual respecting, dearest friends.
That's right, brother.
He connects the head with the heart in every part of the conversation. From a coaching perspective, wouldn't that benefit your communication skills, your sales ability to close deals, your
Well,
leadership capability? If you just took a small page out of James Dixon's Amazing Life book, and hopefully I can throw my 2 cents in there as well.
I love it.
James, I love you. I honor you.
Thank you, brother. Before you go, I want you to stick around for a second. There's something I want to, because you were talking about relationship and you mentioned sales. This one is our next guest who joins us is a relationship that Dan knows all too well. This young man is going to be the future. I love the fact that we bring in people with different perspectives, skill sets, development, and what they will be and will do. Sam Taggart is coming on. Sam, say hi to Dan Clark.
What's up, baby?
He's got to come off mute. There you go. Find your voice, young man. Find your voice.
What's up, everybody? How we doing? Dan Clark, one of my favorite people. What
Yeah.
I've known Sam's parents before Sam was even I've known Sam before he was a twinkle in his daddy's eye.
I think Dan seen my penis or something. He probably changed my diaper.
Oh yeah, it's so
you know
crazy.
I mean? He got like baby Sam. So this is full circle.
Baby Sam, before baby Sam was Sam. And,
Yes.
and Dan, when you see that you've been able to speak life and speak encouragement in people's lives, and you see a child grow up and walk in that destiny like Sam, man, what does that do for you, seeing a young man who's successful, uber successful, became a multimillionaire, but he stays grounded because of those same principles? What does that do for you to see the results of the work you put in?
Well, it just validates that truth is truth wherever it's found. You know, anywhere on any ground. And what Sam validates is that I'm not quite as old as his dad, but I'm about 5 years younger than his dad. And the values and the core ethical steps of success to turn our success into significance that worked for Zig Ziglar, who was my sponsor, works for me. And there's no surprise that they also work for Sam. So he hasn't invented anything new. What he did is he subscribed, he cut through all the clutter, all the shiny objects. And Sam had the ability as a young man, not just as an incredible entrepreneurial spirit. And by the way, an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur like Sam Taggart, like myself, like you, James, we see something not for what it is, but for what it has the power to become. We want to fix things. We want to find a niche and fill it. So Sam Taggart is the epitome of what it means to find the real true principles and then hold true to them because they've worked for generations. 85% of family-owned businesses go bankrupt by the third generation. Why? It's because the new generation, they refuse to subscribe to the same core values that grandpa and grandma used to start and scale their businesses, which are no surprise. Their sacrifice, their vision, their service before self mindset, their work ethic. They're put in the work and amazing things happen. So I'm complimenting Sam Taggart, not just as this phenomenal entrepreneur, and he's in the awe of so many people. You know that, and I've spoken on his stage. I was one of the very first speakers at his first.
He was the first door-to-door con. Dan Clark was there. Like, yeah.
It's been fun for me to see him scale from that first time to see how big it is and how massive it is with his Golden Door Awards and the retreats he conducts. But he's still true to his core values. And that's why he's remained humble. And that's why he's been able to come out with this best-selling book. I honor you, brother, because you basically are holding up the mirror that I've worked so hard to remind people about. The success and significance is really not that tough if you just do what we have been willing to do. And that's why you're so amazing, Sam. I love you. I honor you. I admire you because of your core.
Yeah.
And if you just worked a little harder, you could afford a haircut.
He's going for that young Thor look.
Yeah, I'm like,
for young Chris Hemsworth over here.
I need muscles.
I saw Sam a while ago, And I was walking onto this field, and I saw this guy with these awesome athletic legs and some kind of shorts, kind of John Stockton shorts.
Well, that wouldn't be me.
And the hair was in a man bun. And he's whatever. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I swear he's got to be a famous professional soccer player. So I kind of put on my swag, and I kind of wander up, and he turns around. It's, of course, Sam Taggart. So he's not only a celebrity on stage and in the door-to-door world, but my gosh, brother, you epitomize the total man. I love you. I mean, listen to this. I've got some sort of a bro crush going.
Did you see John Stockton shorts, the little short shorts?
Oh, yeah. If you got it, flaunt it. I mean, I'm sure Sam understands that concept. But, I honor you. What a cool, more than serendipitous that I was on the same program with Sam, because
I know.
Once you get through listening to his success stories and his formula, you'll realize that there's no real difference. Our delivery is different, but what's true is true. And it's always been true. You can't call it true. Most people who come to YouTube lives, most people who come to conferences come in search of the new answers. Come on, Clark, give me the pixie dust. Come on, Taggart, give me the secret sauce. When in reality, don't you think we ought to come in search of the right answers?
Yeah.
Not the new answers, the right answers that have always been right, or we can't call them right.
That's it. Well, I've been honored to have you on. I wanted to take that transition. DanClark360.com. Make sure you guys get it. You'll hear him here in our videos, speaking life into your life. And now we thank you, Dan, for being on. Sam,
kind words, Dan. Thank you.
Better introduction and a tag team partner than coming off the top rope after Dan Clark. Man, thank you for joining in with us.
And isn't that cool? Isn't that cool that the teacher has now become the student?
No. This
honor you.
Hey, that's awesome.
You're the legend. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Brother Dan. Sam, man, how honorable is that? How great is that?
No, I that was like a treat for me. That was like, wait a minute, Dan Clark is going right before me. I was like, there's some history there. Like, I mean, I remember, I'm like, who do I know that's a keynote? I'm throwing a conference. I'd never been to a conference. This is January 2018. So I'm prepping in 17, and I'm like going to throw this big event, and I have no budget. And I'm like, just on a whim, like spiritual journey of like, I need to throw this thing to help unify and up level and bring honor and integrity to the space. And I'm like, oh, this is expensive. The Salt Palace, 40 grand, the lights, 30 grand, the this. I'm like, I'm like, and then the speakers, I call them and they're like 50 grand, every cool person you want to get to speak, they're like 100 grand. I'm like, 100 grand for an hour? Like, that's what people pay you? And so like, I had no idea, you know what I mean? And so my dad and my uncle, and, I start calling, I was like, do you guys have any connections? Like, you should just call Dan Clark. And I was like, oh yeah. And so like, they connect me. I was like, Dan, can you pull a favor for me? And I remember Dan Clark, day one speaks. I'm speaking day one in the morning. I'm speaking day two in the afternoon, or day 1 in the morning. And I'm speaking day 2 in the afternoon. And he's like, hey, what are you selling? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I selling? He's like, you got 800 people here on your first event and you're not selling anything. There's no like, how much are you going to make on this? I'm like, I'm probably going to lose around 100 grand. He's like, oh, okay. How's that for you? And I was like, it's like, I tried to do this on a shoestring budget. And he's like, let me help you. And he like coaches me through this. And then, later on in the different speeches, I was like, hey, will you do some speaker coaching for me? And so I went to his living room and I sat there and I picked apart things. And so, I think a lot of people don't realize like everybody has a good mentor. And he said something about Zig Ziglar being his sponsor. And it's like, what a cool opportunity for him to have Zig Ziglar as a mentor. And, you've been a mentor to so many people, James. And so I'm honored to just even be on this to, now fast forward, it's been 8 years since then. And, I've seen and shared stages with Dan in the past now, and been able to like work with him at the Speaker Association a little bit, and so some really cool stuff. And that was a real treat. That was a real treat.
Let me tell you something that is there. There's always a lineage and a mantle. When Dr. J was in the NBA, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson took the mantle from him, and then they had to yield the mantle to Michael. And then perhaps Kobe had to take that from Michael and Shaq, and they had to share it until LeBron developed, and then Steph. And there's always succession when it comes to great leaders. You were able to sit at the foot and get this mentoring. What Zig put into him, you got from Zig and him. You are the beneficiary of, but there are so many people who will benefit from you. You see, Sam, you were born at such a time that where you are needed. All that you have experienced, all you've gone through, every success, every failure, every heartbreak, every setback, every lesson learned, every time you've gone knocked on doors and said, somebody told you no, absolutely, I don't want it. When people said door to door won't work anymore, people have no solicitation signs, gated communities, you'll never be able to work. And you've always found a way to evolve. What kept you going, and what has it meant to you to have that accountability for greatness?
I think it's funny. My parents, I remember when I was younger, they'd always just say, you're different. You know what I mean? And I think it starts from, speaking of Dan, he knows my dad, my uncle, he's been my ex-father-in-law, like he's been in our world. And, I think a lot of people, they don't realize like parenting has everything to do with it. Like I luckily had a father that was like, I see you as a leader. And we knew from hey, speaking of that, just text me. But like, we knew from when you were little, like you had this leadership ability, like you were going to do things. And I think when people speak things over you, it almost creates this responsibility. And sometimes like people break because they have this responsibility and they're like, I'm too much responsibility. Where for me, I'm like, I need to step into that responsibility. And it's like my almost duty, and what an honor to be able to like fill the shoes and really live up to, this like, you're going to be a leader someday. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know how, but it just like from a young age, it was like, you're going to be a leader. You're going to be a leader. You're going to be a leader. And, I then look at like our duty from God. It's like, okay, every person in here is meant to be a lighthouse, a vessel, an instrument in his hands of like, how can you bring others? We're such a collective community of souls, right? Like you look at how we're interconnected, and it's like, the only real thing that matters is like our fulfillment and the fulfillment we can bring and share with those around us. Like there's the material things, like so many people get so caught up in like, the cars and the flash. And I was just always a little different there. Like I think I made my first $1 million by the age of like 24, and I'm driving a Kia. I was driving a beater, like used Kia. And everybody was like driving in that I sell. So I was in sales growing up. Right. And everybody around me was driving BMWs and lifted trucks. And I'm like the number one rep at $1 billion company. And I'm driving Kias. So I'm this young dude with the mullet, and they're all like, this is the number one guy. Like, this is the guy, like the dude with the genie pants, the Kia, and he's making more than everybody. I was like, well, I don't know. I don't care. What I cared about was that inner fulfillment, the excitement of the chase, the hunt, the game that it was, not so that I could show everybody my watch and my car. And I think a lot of people, they don't realize like life is more about chasing the fulfillment and the relationships and the impact that you get to make, what you get to give, how you get to make a difference in people's lives. And that was more fun for me. And I think that's what's perpetuated my leadership and growth and impact, where a lot of people get self-centered and they just care more about how many Instagram views and like Lambos they have. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you're in the wrong thing.
I gotta ask you something. When I thought came to mind, and I want to see your response to this thought. Most people have always been like, all I need is an opportunity. They've said, man, just give me an opportunity. Let me do it and I'll get in there. Not realizing that it's not just getting hired somewhere or someone giving you a job, but it's about getting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And if you the door, and to me, doors went from the idea theoretically of like knocking on the right door, but it's actually the person behind the door. That if you could somehow build a relationship with the person, that person behind the door can open up the door of other homes, of other people, of other businesses, of other things for you. How important is it to have relationships rather than just opportunities?
I think like relationships are the things that lead to opportunities. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm reading a book by Michael Singer right now. And this chapter I'm reading this morning, so the surrender experiment. And he talks about, I mean, he was like this yogi meditation dude that then eventually ran a $300 million company. And he programs a code, and this is in the 80s. So he spent 2 years just programming in his little woods home cabin. And all of a sudden his vendor calls him and he's on a customer service call. And they're like, yeah, we're looking to expand into these industries. And we were like, and then he's like, well, I actually just spent the last 2 years building a payment processing for medical. And they're like, we're looking for that. Oh my gosh, my boss is right here. Let me see if he's interested in that. The boss walks by. The customer service lady hands him the phone. He's like, hey, yeah, I just spent 2 years. And he's like, yes, send it over. And he sends over the code. It turns out that's the president of a Silicon Slopes company that was really big. And he was like, wow, this is really good. Can we bring you out? And then later on, it led to him. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it can be something so simple of just surrendering and trusting. Like that customer service lady led you to the president, that led you to see that led you. And it was one stupid phone call that then transferred to this guy. And it was because you did a really good job on the product. You did a really good job treating that lady right in order for her to trust you, handing you over to boss. And that's a relationship. That foot in door opportunity that was created by him was created well before even that phone call. It was who he needed to be to show up prior to the phone call to then say the universe is going to trust him with this next pass. It's going to trust him with this next pass. Because I promise you just keep running routes, somebody's eventually going to throw you the ball.
Dude, here's the thing when you talk about running the routes. Routes take technique. It takes time. It takes execution. It takes work. No one gets famous. No one gets successful. No one gets an opportunity without putting in work. Sam, when people hear you say you made your first million at 24, how much work had to go in to make you this?
Yeah, I don't think people realize, like, I've never had a W-2 job, and nobody like did the work for me. Like, I don't just like, no, my dad's not like, here's the handout. Like, I had to go individually knock. Since I was 11 years old, I knocked on doors. And I think this is where people didn't see, like, I out the gate was a young hustler. I out the gate, painted addresses on the curbs. I sold golf balls. I sold magazines. I sold, anything under the sun until I was 18. And then at 18, I then go sell alarm systems. And then in 2008, 9, 10, 11, you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, it wasn't like, my first year door to door, my first year doing this. It was the compounding character that I got to develop since I was 11. It was because I had the wherewithal to say, I need to eat what I kill. Like if I want to be a millionaire, how many doors do I need to knock? And I don't care if you do actual residential door to door, or if you're just, I need to call enough banks to give me the money. I need to call enough businesses to then open their door for my business. Like whatever the thing is, like being the initial point of activation and driver of revenue and opportunity, whether, that door of opportunity as a band you're trying to get a hold of, is it a bank? Is it a business owner? Is it and I look at a person looking for a job with me, and if they're DMing me 3-4 times, they're on top of it, they're following up after their job interview. I'm like, man, this person's like hunting me down. I'm like, that's the kind of guy that I want to work for me. Like, you know what I mean? Even if it's just going and trying to find a job, like some people are like, yeah, I don't know if the internet went well. I'm like, how about the interview sucked, but you just had a way good game on the follow-up and just kept knocking. You were just persistent. Yeah. So like nobody handed me shit. Like I literally knock a door, get in a home, sold shit, walked out, got a commission over and over and over again. And no one's stopping anyone from doing that. Like it's called neighborhoods. It's called neighborhoods. They're there, right?
Listen, I wanted to do something to be a blessing and surprise you as well. I want your message out more. The more that I've learned of you, and the more that I'm determined to introduce other people to you.
Thank you.
That's why I'm on stage there at the Warrior Rising event, and they come to me and they say, "There's a guy named Steven who's saying that he has to talk to you." And I was like, Steven? They said, yeah, your friend Steven. Steven comes, they grab me and they're like, Steven says he needs to talk to you. So I stepped back and he goes, "You've got to meet my friend Sam Taggart." At all the times that he could have grabbed me, he was there. And it wasn't just then, but it was so heavy on his heart and mind. He said, "You two need to get together." And any guy that would interrupt a time where we got 2,500 people there, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, I think I'll give some more money to these veterans too." And he gets up and he picks up my mantra and tells them we are warriors. He gets them going. But for anyone to think that strongly about who you are, that's why I want to introduce you to Kelly Cardenas. If you don't know Kelly, you're about to get to know him. Kelly, get in here, man.
How you doing, Sam? How you doing, buddy?
Bro, another man, you just one-upped me on the hair game.
No.
Kelly,
Hey,
bro?
man, hey, dude, you're looking like Sunshine from Remember the Titans right now, bro.
That was my nickname. That was my nickname in sales. Everybody, in the office, everybody has their name. I either had when I was either B-Rad or Sunshine.
Okay.
You can't beat it. He's like, you know what? This is what was great about the two of you. Sam looks like the before picture. You look like the after picture with meth.
Oh man, no, it looked like Thor, and then out of shape Thor is what it was.
I'm talking about positive stuff.
Hey, I'm just a better shampoo commercial. He's the before, and then I'm a Head and Shoulders shampoo commercial. I'm the after.
I look like when it goes wrong, when you put on.
Yeah, and then you accidentally put Nair in the bottle, and then you're jinxed. You're like, whoa, wrong bottle. Dang it.
Man.
That's what happened.
Hey, we need to get someone from Remember the Titans on here, like for real.
Do.
I need one of them. James, you look
top 5 greatest movies of all time.
Oh, phenomenal.
Top five,
James looks like a broke down. I can't remember. He was the cornerback. The guy that got mad.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
This went from motivation to absolute chaos. Listen, Kelly has one of the top-rated podcasts in the world, and I want you guys. Do me a favor, bring Sam on, because I promise you, not only is Sam a phenomenal person, like I said, I've never had somebody tell it. Okay, maybe because I'm in Mormon country at times, but I've never had someone knock on the door so insistent. Hey, you got to meet Sam. I was like, Sam must have some golden tablets or something. He just has a golden heart, man. And Sam has brought so much. He brings experts on. I think, Kelly, what I love about him, the synergy is this. Sam has D to D experts, right? So it's door-to-door experts, but it is about other people, not about him. So when you go look at his YouTube, man, they've got 40,000 subscribers, great growing place for expert knowledge. You want to know how to do some things and specific things, growth, development, and sales, you go to Sam Taggart. That's what he does. But it's not just Sam Taggart. Sam's got like a team of 50 professionals that are there giving their skill set, and it's not about him. You won't find pictures of him. It's about promoting others. And Kelly, that's exactly what you do. The reason why I am where I am is I met Kelly. He spoke life into me, encouraged me, pushed me out there. And today I want him to do the very same with my friend Sam.
Means a lot, Kelly.
Hey, it's so good to see you, man. Hey, do you believe that there's a connection point with the LDS side, like the belief system and what you have to go through for 2 years, and the success rate that people have on knocking on doors? Because you have to knock on doors for 2 years selling something you can't see, and people think you're crazy. And then coming out of it, like all my friends that are in the LDS belief come out of the mission, and then they have this incredible resilience. Do you see a connection point between the two?
100%. I did 2 years in Argentina, and
Yes.
I think Utah has the highest per capita entrepreneur number, right? But I think what's interesting is you take these smart people 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they said, wait a minute. What if we recruited all these guys, got them to go knock, and made money off of them? I think Utah is like MLMs. It's Mormons, MLMs, or return missionaries, and getting them to go do door to door. And so I call it the 3 M's. And so, it's really MLM just stands for Mormons leveraging Mormons. And so you got like Utah is great because they do have this like natural, I need to go hunt, I need to go proactive, I need to be an entrepreneur. It's also probably the most famous for the mommy bloggers because they all fulfill this like inadequacy with their husbands being successful. So they go start some blog or some like mom and pop shop of fancy like little like jewelry or something. I swear there's so many like Utah influencer moms that are just crushing, it's like and so they got to all go start their own business too, just being a mom. But like, what's funny is I think door to door is like a rite of passage in Utah where it's kind of shunned in other places. Like you look at Mark Cuban or Paul DiGiorgio or Sarah Blakely or Steven Schwartz or, there's so many people got their start actually learning the skill set of sales. Where I watch in today's world, it's almost like nobody actually has to go through that rite of passage of learning how to talk to people, learning how to get rejected, learning how to go actually have like real meaningful conversion conversations. But that is like the foundational principle to be successful in business. And so people go start businesses, but they realize, oh, shoot, I need sales in this business for it to survive. And then they fail in business, where I think Utah is like, we learn sales and then they go off and start all these other businesses. So whether it's they're selling the gospel or whatever, or they do both door to door and the gospel. But I think it's the capitalization of the smart people that said, I'm going to recruit these guys and give them actual money to do this versus they did it for free for 2 years. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know about you, James. But I don't want Sam knocking on my door and my wife seeing a dude looking like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I don't want you. Hey, I don't want Thor coming to my door. Like Thor, I'm not buying what you're selling. Yeah, I mean,
they don't come to your house and your woman's in by herself. You walk east. Oh, hell no.
The worst. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story about that. This is great. So I remember there was this hot mom, right? And I'm like 18, single. I walk in and she's a hairstylist and I happen to have needed a haircut. And so I'm shirt off in the middle of the living room, getting my hair. Husband comes home and is like, what the fuck? Like, there's just like, what is going on? And there's a technician installing her alarm. I'm sitting there with my shirt off, getting my hair cut on. And I'm like, this probably does not look good. So there has been.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, dude. Like that. Hey, I tell you this, Sam is selling hope because there's a lot of you salesmen out there that don't look like Sam. And if you don't look like Sam, you might not get as many sales as Sam gets because that man is pretty. Like you are pretty. I tell you, I'm not going to share this podcast with my wife because she's going to be like, damn, that's possible. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sam walks in slow motion, man.
He got a fog machine all the time is what it is.
But this is what's great, guys. I want both of you to join me over with Absolute Motivation on our Instagram because I want that audience there. Can we all join over right now? I'm jumping on live. We're going to go live on Instagram, Absolute Motivation Official, guys. We'll see you there. Master Chief, we're out.
Made me an entrepreneur, teaching me day after day.